4 points clear, unbeaten, 12 wins, 13 clean sheets, plus 52 goal difference. Well, those are the stats about a team that's won, has become crown champions for the second time in the 3 seasons that they've played at the BDFA. Now, if you know about this gentleman who joined me on the show, he's all about numbers and the research that he puts in, even in a simple tweet. So if you think what I just read out was part of my research, well, you've been wronged. I didn't have to do much work because all I had to do is dig up his LinkedIn profile to where he's put down a whole message about his entire season. So these were the numbers that he put down there, and I trust him with numbers, so I went ahead with that. Let me welcome Richard Hood to the Totally Indian Football Show for the second time this season.
Thank you, Siju. Good to be back on the show.
Yeah, today I have all of you by myself. Like the last time, it was more like a press conference on the show. But it was fun nonetheless. Now, I think taking you back a bit more about FCBU, right? It's been 3 seasons that you're the head coach of the club. It's relatively now, I think we should stop calling it a new club. We are kind of wanting to look forward to the results, the benefits that it reaps. Everyone wants to know what's coming up out of the FCBU camp. Again, with the things, rightly so, and one of the things because you are at the helm of things over there. Now, to ask you maybe, how are you placed in terms of, you missed out on, again, the I-League, but at the moment, since I-League has been postponed for various different reasons, for the reasons that we know, how are you placed at the moment? Are you kind of relieved that's not happening? And you guys didn't get a chance to play in the I-League, and now it's not happening. We don't know when it's going to happen. But yeah, how are you placed in that aspect?
I think it would be unfair to dance on other people's misery because I think it's more than 13 teams that are affected by the whole suspension. We are talking about players and fellow coaches, maybe the wages being affected, and again, lack of inactivity, not being able to showcase themselves, not having the opportunity to play because of the circumstances that have unfolded. So it's not really relief as such, but yeah, I mean, Rajasthan went through fair and square, and Kenkre capitalized on the opportunity of Chennai City FC dropping out. But yeah, I mean, with just about a couple of games played, I think 2 or 3 matches played, and then for it to be suspended is really unfortunate. And can't really say that we're glad, but yeah, it would have cancellation out would have been good to be at that level ideally.
Now let's go back to the I-League, what happened last year, the second division that happened. And you all were very impressive with the first outing that you all had in the previous edition. But things didn't go well in the second time around. You all came in after a Durand Cup fixtures. Was that the fatigue that came in that you all didn't probably have much time to recover? Because to be honest and to put out straight, I mean, even you would agree it was a dismal performance from FCBU at the second division.
Fatigue wasn't a factor at all. I mean, Chelston and the staff have ensured that we are among the fitter teams in the circuit. So that really wasn't a concern of ours. And in fact, since you had mentioned stats, I think I will put out all the attacking stats that we secured. So the football that we played in Durand and the previous edition, what we produced at the qualifiers this year was a lot more aggressive. We were a lot more incisive in our attacks. We produced a lot more chances. I think in terms of the aggressive stats, final third entries, chances created, all of that, we were the top team across both the groups as far as the group stage went. And we surpassed most of our numbers during the Durand as well. So, I mean, number one were the defensive errors that we made, but also compared to the number of chances that we had, we really didn't. I mean, there was a need for being clinical over there, but yes, the results were abysmal. I mean, there's no undoing the sort of disappointment that we faced over there. But as far as playing with our identity, playing intense football for the entire 90 minutes, I don't think even once anybody would have noticed us stepping off the pedal in terms of how hard we play. So on those parameters, it wasn't a letdown. But yeah, the score is a score. I mean, there's no hiding from that. And no matter what we said, we didn't really prove ourselves up to whatever the hype that was built around it. And that's really disappointing. But if you're asking where exactly are we looking for the answers and gaps and errors and things, as far as adhering to a model goes and doing our best to be successful by that, I think, yeah, the biggest gap was not being as clinical as we should have been.
So to go back now, probably to ask you, then I mean, yes, the stats does say that you all performed at your best, but like you just mentioned, it didn't convert into results that you wanted. So where do you think it went wrong? I mean, was recruitment did that play a part because you had some experienced players, but also some probably who've crossed their peak? So how did that go by?
I think I have heard many of the comments that people had to share about the recruitment and bit, but then people don't look between what happened between the Durand and the qualifiers. One was that Rana Garami, who was brought in to be our first choice centre back, he didn't come in. Then Ashraf got injured just before the semi-finals and wasn't available for the duration of the qualifiers. So that had to we had to create some shuffling with the back four. And if you look at the record that we had with the qualifiers the previous season, where we conceded lesser number of goals across as many matches, over there we had a stable back four. I think our back four was the same for all 4 matches, no changes over there. And over here we had to shuffle and change quite a few times. And I don't think we should discount Kinshu getting a red card over there, or even Pedro Manzi being injured in the first 20-30 minutes of the game against Madan Maharaj. And you can, if you look at just his impact of being on the pitch, the number of chances that he creates per 90 minutes, the number of shots that he has, his final third passing success rate and things, that was a big chunk to miss out on. So start to finish, we had a definite plan about how we wanted to use our recruits, where exactly we'd use them in what situations, but then injuries and certain aspects that affected the flow that we wanted to achieve.
Well, now let me just get to the season that you all had at the BDFA, the numbers that I shared in the start. Share your thoughts, your experience. Once again, congratulations on being champions at the BDFA. Take us through that journey, please.
Having lived in the city for close to 9 years now and being involved in and out directly or indirectly with the Super Division, at least there's a good idea of the quality of teams. And last 3 seasons, the winners and runners-up have been separated by just the 1 point. So we knew that one is to perform well against the potential favorites and make sure that we get the points over there. That was a big part of the objectives. And we were lucky that we had a good chunk of players. Not from the starting 11, but boys who were part of the squad who made up most of the playing minutes. So there wasn't so much of a, let's say, adjustment period in terms of the new signings or players who now became a new starting 11. Who composed a new starting 11. There wasn't so much of a adjustment period over there. And also we were quite shrewd with our recruitment of the under 21 players. We'd got a couple of very talented boys from Shillong, Ainam and Batskim, who I think from the under 21 quota that was a part of the league rules, they I think they secured more than 95% of it and did really well for us. So just having the idea that we need to be ruthless, we need to outscore, we need to beat the next favorites on the list. All of those objectives were very clear from day one, and really happy that the boys stepped up and delivered and did what needed to be done.
How do you assess the team's performance, like from the time that it has started? It's been 3 seasons and 3 years so far. So how from the start till now, how do you gauge them, and where do you rate the team's performance as a whole?
One thing is that we place a lot of value on the process. So the main objective for me personally was to assemble a really strong coaching staff. And with Mangi, Chelston, Satish coming in for the qualifiers, and then the physios that we've had, at least end to end, we've had a good, you can call it a very lean staff, but it is a start at least in terms of having people who are in line with the sort of football that we need to play. Everybody has their jobs and responsibilities sorted out, and everybody's pulling in the same direction. So year on year, we have improved at least in the rankings and attacking stats and all of that in the 3 seasons that we've had. The other big success for us is the progression that players have enjoyed with us. One is if you look at boys like Amay Ranawade, he'd spent the qualifiers with us last season and now is amongst the first names on the team sheet for Mumbai City FC. Shreyas Ketkar did really well for us and is with the Indian Arrows now. And similarly, there's a whole bunch of players who came in here and then made the move upwards. And that's largely due to the game model that we have, at least the identity that we play with. We encourage them to express themselves. We encourage them to follow and perform within whatever the parameters are with modern football. And I'm sure that the few people that watchers have identified that these guys are adaptable and they could fit into most teams. So let's just say there are 10 things that need to be done. At least we ensure that these guys do 8 out of 10 things really well, and that's what makes them good talents to sort of move upwards and serve in higher leagues. So yeah, I mean, that way we've based on these parameters, we've been able to secure some really good talent. We've been able to secure important foreigners as well as senior Indian players who came in and gave us time on the pitch and in training. So at least as far as the trust and reliability of the program goes at the individual level in terms of clarity with the football that we want to play, and also the output that we have physically and just in terms of the care that the players receive. There are a lot of boxes that we can check off, especially for the level that we play at. We've had a lot of successes on that front, and football-wise, we have improved significantly from the first season till the third. There has been big improvements.
Now, to ask you, when you were roped in as the head coach, I'm guessing and assuming that you were given the freedom to choose your coaching stuff, right? So, how did that process go by, and how did you narrow it down to probably having Gormangi as your assistant coach? If you can just share your insights on that, and how good has he been with you, and what are the learnings that you've probably got from him, and how is he on the pitch, like basically on the sidelines as a coach?
Now, I mean, getting into the job, I wasn't. I was under no impression that I can make up for lack of playing experience, and Mangi brings enough and more of that, right? I mean, given that he's been there from the NFL era till the ISL era as a player, and he's retired quite recently. So there was good interaction with him during one of the courses that he was a participant of, and I was assisting Savio Madera over there. And between that course starting and this job coming up, I was on the lookout for somebody to come in and fill in the staff. And I'd approached him, and he asked the right sort of questions as well in terms of why should I be coming across, why should I leave home and make time for this. And at least I guess from whatever conversations we had back then, there was enough clarity in my head and ability to express what exactly we are trying to do at FCBU, and he agreed. And if you're asking about sort of insights and stuff, I think those things are quite instinctive, right? Like a lot of quick decisions, a lot of insights into the training plan. When do we stop? At what point do we really push the boys more? I mean, there is a lot of exchange. We drive up and down to work together every day, so that's upwards of 2 hours when you're traveling longer distances, discussing the training plan. And also just that he is a thorough professional. You don't survive at that level of the game without really having that sort of those traits and characteristics to last life as a professional player. And a lot of those personality traits have carried into his job as a coach as well. So when it comes to taking care of the defensive side of things, the set piece side of things, he takes the responsibility very seriously. And also, we all speak the same language in terms of the intensity that we demand. There's a shared clarity in terms of what standards we expect the players to produce from the start of the session to the end of the session. So it's been a very good relationship that's built up over the last 3 years.
Now, in the post that I started with the reference to that you shared post your season, you mentioned about an identity, right? You mentioned a line that says, "Plenty of valuable memories built establishing the most vital part of our work, which was our identity." So, talking about developing this identity, how do you go about getting everyone in the team involved and get through that message?
One is I'm quite forthcoming with the sort of details that I want to share, especially with the staff and things, whether it's a training plan, whether it is insights that we gather, whether it is the drills that we need to do. There's a lot of exchange of written content in terms of talking it out and then discussions. So that's the starting point of getting everybody on board with the identity. And it took a bit of time. I think initially I held back, they held back a bit, but then everybody contributes towards it. There are a lot of training activities that Mangi brings forward, a lot of training activities that Chelsea brings forward, a lot of tactical considerations that we make based on the players that are available. So everybody contributes, but yeah, I mean, the main idea that we need to play with a certain amount of intensity within the 4 moments of the game. We need to showcase certain technical qualities, showcase a sense of collective intelligence, and just a sense of clarity that the players need to bring through over the 90 minutes. And that's how we structure the whole program. So it wasn't too difficult because I think in terms of not really aesthetics, but in terms of ideals, values and principles, all of us are on the same page that we want to be amongst the hardest working teams around. We want to be amongst the most industrious teams. We want to have good, quick, efficient attacks. We want to win the ball back as quickly as possible. So just these underlying values that we all share in terms with how we want the game to be played and what exactly we need it to look like. In those terms, there was a lot of cohesion amongst us. And like I said, it takes 3 years to come to this point. And I think, if compared to the training plans that we had initially to what's being developed now, to the way we manage our training sessions in the initial months to the last few weeks that we had, there's a big, big difference in terms of our approach as well. And thankfully, we are very honest in terms of how we reflect on the methods. There is a big reflective process as well. That we all share in terms of what are the things that we will never do again, what are the things that we need to do all the time, what are the things that will continue. Just though, and again, within the various aspects of our training, that's sort of refined it over a good period of time. And it's been a very conscious effort doing that. So I think, with just the idea that everybody gets to contribute and there's a there's a lot of room for new ideas and things to come in. I think that's what's made the whole coaching staff successful just in terms of getting through and implementing this.
Right. Now, you mentioned about training, the aspect of training that each of you bring into the pitch. If I may ask, can you probably take us through, how do you plan your sessions? If you can take us through that journey, it'll be great.
One is that everything's documented, right? I mean, I think right from, let's say, what we need to convey to the players from the time they come in and how we wrap up the session and things, at least certain points that are controllable. I mean, not everything can be predicted, of course, but we put a lot of things on paper. So we have a master document of sorts, that is the game model that we have. And it describes in each of the game moments, right? When we have the ball, when we don't have the ball, when there are transitions and set pieces, what exactly do we need to do? And in which part of the pitch does this take place? So one is based on which part of the pitch it is in, who are the players involved. We have certain certain rules, or let's say tactical behaviors that we expect the players to execute, again based on their individual abilities. And more or less a training plan is based on game moments. So I think the entire training session, we have a very big leaning towards transitions. That is, if we train defense, and we start from the point of losing the ball and all the behaviors that need to follow in terms of ensuring that we're successful defensively. And then again, quick rules for what we do when we regain the ball and what needs to happen after that. So we have a very strong leaning towards the transition phases. And the training sessions, by and large, regardless of whatever the topic is, we start off with invasion sports or invasion activities, that is in terms of rondos, but rondos with direction, with a target, with a score. At least get it as close to the game as quickly as we can. Then we move into specific tactics, that is usually unit plus unit versus unit plus unit phases of play of sorts. We slow it down, we speed it up. Usually we don't intervene at all, or there are a lot of interventions based on what day of the week it is, or how much we need to address a certain point, or what phase of the season we are faced with. So if we sort of add all of that up, we get the first, let's say, 75% of the session. And then usually, again, depending on the day of the week it is, we end with a small-sided game, and we try and have minimal interference during that. Small-sided, medium-sized, or maybe just 11-11 on half a pitch. That's very, very common practice with us. But from the start of the session till the end of the session, it's a common theme. And over a period of time, it's the behaviors that we continue to demand. That is individual behaviors on the ball, based on which individuals there are. What do we need to happen around the ball? That is players who are closest to the game action or the center of play. And then away from the ball, just the overall organization in terms of how we're managing space and time, and also options, and covering various aspects. Again, like I said, each game phase has got its boxes to tick. And in each in each moment that we need to step in and coach, we try and see what needs to be addressed as the most important point, and we really don't deviate away from that. And 9 out of 10 times, correcting or identifying the most important aspect to coach or address, aspect or problem to coach or address, it sort of solves the remaining problems also in a sequential manner, as we don't need to have too many stoppages if we're very careful about the quality of stoppages that we need to have. But if you're asking about the mood and things, we're very careful about the language that we use. not in terms of, let's say, the content of profanity and all of that, but also like the cue words that we have, what we constantly demand, what we. So we have a list of all the time and never. So there are certain things that we do all the time as a team, and there are certain things that we never do as a team or as individuals and things like that. So at least being very conscious about our communication model in terms of the ideas that we need to convey. Again, that's a big part of the planning, because many times the plan, I mean, there have been times when we have to abandon it halfway through and then go on with something else in terms of what's come up in the session and things. And that's also another big aspect of the program, where we are quite adaptable or open to play as it unfolds rather than being slaves to the program that's on paper. But it goes on to a lot of detail, at least from whatever comparisons I've seen, and everybody is tuned into it. So the sessions, they go out on our staff WhatsApp group about a couple of hours before the training session starts. Everybody comes in with the input. Then everybody reports 1 hour before the session starts. So there's enough room to discuss and things. And then, that's how the usual working day goes beyond just planning the session.
Now, taking you a little back on the journey, right? You played in your first ever as a head coach, played in the Durand Cup. And considering the history that, Durand Cup boasts of, it is definitely a great privilege for any team or any player to play in that historic tournament, irrespective of how it's been treated at the moment. How were you, how excited were you to lead this team into this Durand Cup? And how did you prepare, and what do you make of the entire tournament?
Number one, at least from the point of view where we come, it was a really well organized tournament, and hats off to the Bengal government and our armed forces to give us such a good experience. That was, at least as far as the timekeeping goes, the professionalism behind it, all of it was a big eye opener for us. And again, as a staff, to be accepted was a huge sort of sense of joy for us, because we've grown up watching it, and again, something that is this old and so much of prestige attached to it. We were very eager to do well in this, and I don't think anybody missed the point that this was preparation for the qualifiers eventually. That is, we knew at the back of our heads, if we do really well over here with that sort of competitive temperament under our belt, the qualifiers, it would sort of complement the qualifiers or the sort of oppositions that we'll face there. So, throughout, I think we were unbeaten, at least as far as the regular playing minutes went throughout the Durand. I think we lost. We did lose in extra time after going a man down in the semi-finals. But if you're talking about just reflecting, I think for everybody, that is many of the players and me especially, along with some of the staff, it's the first time we've played in front of a full stadium, right? Because Mohammedan Sporting had a full house that day. And more than anything, it being the Salt Lake, and we didn't play any matches at the Salt Lake during the group stage. All of our matches were in Kalyani. So, to sort of earn our place, or let's say earn a right to play at the Salt Lake by securing qualification to the semi-finals, that was really special. And we had a lot of sleepless nights wondering if that yellow card hadn't happened, or could we have dragged it all the way into penalties and things. Would have been special to sort of do better than the semi-final spot. But again, the whole tournament was testament to what we prepared for and what we wanted to achieve. That is, number one, play football the way we intend to, show the same qualities. And we got a lot of praise for doing that, especially from the opponent coaches and things, where we gave a good account for ourselves, I would like to believe.
Right. Now, going back to the post that you shared, right, it mentions a line that says, building a culture, environment, and process. That's the primary success that you guys have, and you're making the right kind of noises. If I may ask, how do you see yourself in the 3 seasons? I know it's not a lot of period to actually gauge, but from the start till now, how successful have you been in building that culture and environment and process in place that you had in mind?
One is environment, pretty much is, let's say, the people that we see every day and the things that we do every day, right? So that's like the exoskeleton or whatever what forms the environment. And like within that, we've brought in a lot of values in terms of, let's say, having a good work ethic, being diligent about things, giving players complete clarity, giving them a full training day as opposed to whatever they faced in the past, and then just going by accounts of the players and stuff. So one was to bring in as much professionalism as we possibly could. That is main ethics. So there was no shortcuts, no winging it, and no half measures in terms of anything that we do, whether it was the planning, the preparation, the interaction that we have with our players. There was a big demand to be as mindful and present as we are. And also, I think whatever it was, I mean, those training moments, or let's say the attachment with the club or the interaction with the players, in the moment, that is the most important thing happening for all of us. So being able to bring our entire focus and energy into serving the players, I mean, giving them a good training experience, making them believe that this is the best possible choice that they've made with their career at that point in time. Because a lot of times we get players who have better options, right? I mean, it's not easy securing a lot of the names that we did, given that I-League clubs and certain ISL clubs were after them, and also competing I-League second division clubs were after securing the talent. So beyond the finances and things, many of these guys have come away from playing and serving under respectable clubs and coaches. So I mean, there was pressure for us, not pressure, but yeah, I mean, we take a lot of pride in what we do. And producing a good, well-run program was a big part of this whole culture that we keep talking about. And in terms of the noise being made, yeah, I mean, if you look at it from the point of view of Robert and Danny Carr, they got called up for the national team in the World Cup qualifiers, given the work that Chelston and all of us put together, just in terms of ensuring that these guys will produce top level stats as far as the running bit goes. So at least we ensure that the players were fit. So that's a big part of our culture, where the whole conditioning program and player well-being is a big part of it. That's something that we take very seriously. In terms of training intensity, the players who make their way to the pitch are the ones who can possibly meet all the pressing demands that we have. Play the game at a certain tempo throughout for 90 minutes. That's a big part of our culture that gets lived through every day. As in, if you're talking about overt running stats and running drills and things, we don't really do too much of those. But whatever we do is very demanding, right from the effort that goes behind it and the expectations in terms of the quality of execution that we expect from the players. We expect them to do everything properly and to a certain standard. So that's a big part of the culture. Then simple values like punctuality, shaking hands with everybody as soon as they come in, greeting everybody as soon as they come in, having a quick chat before the session starts, just the day-to-day of the interaction and bit, that was a big part of it. None of the staff leaves before everybody is done. So if the SNC guys and the physios and stuff, they need to treat the players, they have extra gym sessions, then even the coaches stay back and help out wherever they can. So that also became a part of the culture and things. So I mean, yeah, we did build it brick by brick, and at least certain parts of it were in place from day one, because we brought in the right people as far as the staff went, and it sort of built on from there. And overall, it has become a lot tighter. It has become a lot more efficient. It has become a lot more demanding. And again, like, the main aim is to place the players first. It's never about us, and it's everything is about getting the best from these players, creating good cohesive unit and things. And again, lot of brotherhood over there, a lot of mutual respect, lots of love between all of us and things. So that makes up a huge part of it. So yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of everything, but yeah, it was good to build all of this and at least ensure that players who came in with the right sort of mindset and attitude went back better players and into better setups, or at least they got a lot more than what they expected beyond just, let's say, the wages or just filling in the time gap that they had with us.
Right. And if I had to ask you what excited you the most, taking this job up, like you wanted to get back to coaching, yes, but how excited were you and what kind of pushed you finally to take this offer up as a head coach at FCBU?
One, there was a lot of satisfaction behind it, right? Because it wasn't that I went and met the club management and they agreed the next day to give me the job. It went into about 9 or 10 interviews. There were other people who were fighting for it, people with a lot more experience coaching wise than me. There were a lot of doubts that they were quite sort of open about, and I was in a position to answer most of them. And yeah, just in the interaction, at least I think the 9 interview process, it sort of clarified things between both of us. And it is a very exciting project just because of the people that are behind it. We have so much of autonomy and trust that's built up over the years. And from season 1, they have supported our decisions and questioned when it was necessary as well, in terms of whatever demands we made or whatever happens. So they have kept us on our toes as well. So I mean, it's been a great fit for 3 seasons now, and future will tell what's going to unfold in bit. But yeah, if you're talking about excited, how excited I was, how happy I was, yes, it was important to sort of start with the sort of people that make up the FCBU management, the director, the operations team, the vice president, all of them. I mean, they're really top people and understand sports, and they're in it for the right reasons. So overall, it was a good fit that's paid off.
Yeah, and if I had to ask you, like we all know, you came back to head coach or a coaching role after a short gap, right? How do you? Is there a self assessment? If I had to ask you, how do you assess yourself in these 3 seasons that you've had so far as a coach?
One is, yeah, there definitely is a lot of room for improvement. As far as the controllables go, in terms of how curious we are about the game, how sort of hungry we are to improve ourselves in terms of understanding what's happening at the highest level, constantly digging through books and podcasts and research papers to see and explore applicable lessons that can be brought into our environment. So on those fronts, yeah, there has been certain improvements in terms of I'm a lot more clear of the sources that I want to go to and build on, as in people that I listen to. In terms of the mentorship, I'm very, very lucky that I have well-wishers who are brutally honest with me, though they're not there on a day-to-day basis and things. But yeah, each time we haven't done so well or screwed up the results, especially if you look at the qualifiers now in terms of what exactly happened. One is they give me a chance to explain what exactly happened, and then they give their opinion as well. So and there's no sort of sugarcoating anything. So and these are people who are quite who are important voices in Indian football, who step in and make time to help me through a reflective process. And yeah, I mean, personally, I think just in terms of efficiency and things, yes, communication, in terms of how we interact with, or at least me, how I interact with the players and things, yes, there is a lot of room for improvement. And that's a work in process constantly, because eventually we are looking to cement our identity in such a way that even the methodology, all the approaches, they become not foolproof, but at least what used to take 3 or 4 sessions at one time should take a lot lesser quantity of time to sort of implement and establish. And I think communication will be a big part of it. And again, the sort of management of the environment, managing personalities and stuff that comes with experience. I don't think there is any book or podcast or any documentary that will help me become a better leader in terms of managing people, unless I continue to expose myself to difficult situations and deal with it in a reflective manner, deal with it with intent to change or understand what needs to be done. And I have been quite open to that side of things and will continue to do so.
Now, just to get your quick thoughts, as somebody who's been involved in Indian football for such a long time, well, we have a new club in the whole scene, right, from Rajasthan, and it's the first time from that state we have a club representing. How do you see that as a great thing for Indian football going ahead? And a word on, you've seen them play, you've played in the league, the second division. How do you assess them, and what are your thoughts on this new club?
I didn't get a chance to see the new signings. I think the strength of the processes and strength of whatever they've built so far will be seen in the I League, should it continue and pick up where it left off. I think they played with 9 men against Roundglass. So, I mean, that was an unfortunate situation that came up. But it will be really interesting to see how everything shapes up with all the new signings and the sort of football that they produce. And Rajat, who's with the club, is somebody I've known for a very long time. Long ago, I think more than 10 years ago, he had come to Tata and spent a bit of time over there with the academy. I think he was trialing with boys like Hitesh Sharma and Konsham and Aiban and things. He didn't make it, but he kept it a point to keep in touch, and used to drop in messages every now and then to see if there were any opportunities for him to continue playing. So at least in terms of the passion that's behind the people that make up the club, there's no doubt over there. And new, old, whatever it is, they got promoted, right? Whether it was a 100-year-old club or a club that's just come up and things, it doesn't really make a difference as long as the processes have proven them to earn their place. And football is a future obsessed sport. We can't really rest on what's happened in the past, and the next game is the most important one. The next decision, the next signing, the next acquisition, everything is about what's going to come up in the future. The here and now is just the 90 minutes that we experience and things. So I think given the time, they have the right people to sort of build up on this. And like I said, if the people are right, then it really doesn't matter which part of the country they come from. But it's good to see that local people are behind it. And once this whole thing comes back to normal, to see what the home games will be like in Jaipur could be a surprise for all of us in terms of the crowds and things that show up over there. You can never tell what's in store once this home away format gets back on the road.
And finally, we are all in uncertain times, but keeping that aside, as a coach of FCBU and for a club, how does the future look like? If you can share something from that.
We aren't really sure. I mean, at least in terms of staff, what's going to happen with us or with the club. One, that the calendar is so scattered. I mean, we don't know when the next bunch of games are going to happen. So our commitment was till the last game of the BDFA Super Division, and objective, like I mentioned, was to win the league. So it's not really undoing what happened in October in the qualifiers and things, but it was the least that we could do given the time span that the BDFA league was starting within 10 days of that qualifiers wrapping up. Of course, the club is going to assess its future steps based on what exactly has happened, and whether the BDFA accomplishment outweighs the disappointment of the Super Division. I mean, of the qualifiers, that's not for us to say, because the club has to make careful decisions and ensure that they get through next season. And like I said, there hasn't been any official communication as such. And again, it all depends on the calendar. Is it going to be in October again? Then what happens with the staff from January to October? And we definitely can't rely on the club to take care of us in over that time span, right? So it all depends. Probably it would be ideal to see how things shape up and things, but I think the club will be looking to build a whole calendar around accommodating the Durand again, the IFA Shield again, and the qualifiers, as well as the next edition of the Super Division, and of course to make sure that they qualify. So I guess with that sort of volume of commitments coming up comparatively, they will make a careful choice in terms of what exactly the future is.
Great. Richard Hood, thank you so much for your time, for coming onto the show and accepting my request on Twitter. Thank you once again for your time.
It's absolute pleasure, Siju. Thanks for this interview.
Great. To all our listeners, thank you so much, guys. To also let you know that we've recorded this episode a week in prior, so you're listening. That's why I did not get in much into getting his thoughts on what's happening in Indian football in general. And definitely, I think this episode was needed because he's no more just a person or at the helm of things of Indian football. He's a head coach of a club, so I had to get this done. Thank you once again to all the listeners. Do follow and subscribe to our show on all the leading audio platforms, and share your thoughts, share your inputs, and share this episode as well. Thank you once again. I'm your host, Siju, and you're listening to the Totally Indian Football Show. Thank you.